when I was a student and visiting the Sungyunguan, I couldn't imagine being called upon to give my opinion of where they should go. Annyeonghaseyo, this is Mark Peterson with the Frog Outside the Well Research Center, and today my two new friends, well, Rebecca's kind of an old friend.
And a new friend.
And a new friend, Alicia, are back with me in town again today, and you're working in Salt Lake?
Yes, yep.
For whom?
For the U.S. speed skating team.
The U.S. speed skating team. She's in charge of PR for the U.S. speed skating team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speed skating is pretty big in Korea, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of their gold medal areas. Yeah. Yeah. Now, you haven't been to Korea before.
No, never
But
been.
Rebecca is our
I have
veteran.
been.
She's
Yeah.
been to Korea 9 months to study,
Right, and then just two other times
two
to
other
visit.
short trips. You got
Love it.
interested in Korea because of your brother, didn't
I
you?
did, yeah, because he studied Korean in college and then lived in Korea for a few years. So the first time I went to Korea was to visit him, and I got kind of interested in Korea from that trip, and K-pop and K-dramas, and really snowballed, and so here we are.
There you are. Oh, that's really fantastic. Well, one thing you should know about Korea is they have great snack crackers.
Ooh, okay.
Try one of those. Have you had these before, Rebecca?
Yeah, I actually have these at home right now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I bought them from the Korean market.
These are great. Now
They're
taste that.
good.
Okay.
And tell me if it's sweet or salty.
A little sweet,
Mm-hmm. A little salty.
a little salty.
Sweet and salty. Yeah. They're pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
These are all my favorites. Yobaseo.
Mm-hmm.
Next is Pepero.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Pepero
those.
plain, but I love Pepero almond.
Mm.
They should be paying for this. Our sponsor today, our program today is sponsored by Pepero almond.
Yum.
Pepero almond. I love Pepero almond. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're really bored, these are sesame sticks.
Okay,
Ooh.
I actually recommended
You
these
did.
to Alicia because I really like those too.
These are really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab one.
Okay, now that we're happy,
Yeah.
let's talk about something kind of serious, but it's okay. We're going to go visit the Sungyunguan. The Sungyunguan, now it's a little confusing in Korea because when I say the Sungyunguan, a lot of people think of the university because there's a modern university called the Sungyunguan University. But it has roots in this old Korean academy. I did a video a while back that Korea ought to be claiming one of the oldest universities in the world. What's the oldest university in the world?
I should know this probably. In English?
Oxford likes to
Oh,
be
yeah, yeah.
Oxford, and there's a school in Barcelona, Spain, that claimed a 1,000-year history. This is a little bit older than Oxford. Here we are at the main building inside. Now, some people might say, hey, but the Sungyunguan, this thing was just a Confucian academy.
Oh.
And this is like the headquarters of Confucianism in Korea. And Korea, we can argue, I like to argue, has the best Confucianism in the world. So this is like the Vatican of Confucianism.
Yeah.
I've come to this place for ceremonies, and I've looked at it with great, great respect because it's the headquarters. And I've been there for ceremonies in this beautiful courtyard on this rainy day. Oh, and you see this tree here?
Yeah.
It has 5 branches. And back over here, there's another tree. Oh, we're coming back to it. Perfect timing. I couldn't have done this any better. This tree has 3 branches. And they say it grew up that way. They didn't plant it because in basic Confucian doctrine, there are the 3 principles and the 5 relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Bang, there it is on the
That's
trees,
perfect.
growing
Yeah.
right
Oh my
there in
gosh.
front of everyone. So I really respect this place a lot. When I've come here to see ceremonies, very often the people that are participating in the ceremonies are older men, and there's in many cases men that I interviewed for my PhD dissertation. My dissertation is called The Emergence of Confucianism in Korea.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what's happened is a colleague of mine has come to me and has said, hey, you've got some ideas about Confucianism. And the Sungyunguan has a new leader, and he's concerned about planting Confucianism in today's modern society. Because Confucianism is taking a lot of hits these days. And it's taking hits because it's seen as very old-fashioned. and very oppressive of women. Because it's so big on men and
Yeah.
men's privilege and such that it oppresses women. It was really interesting for me to go to the Sungyunguan. I'd admired the place as a student, and now here the director wants my opinion about what to do about Confucianism. Well, turns out I'd studied about it a little bit. I mean, I wrote a dissertation about it. And if I were to write the dissertation again, I'd change the focus a little bit, because the dissertation says, in English, there's creation of a classic Confucian society. In Korean, it says the emergence of Confucian society. But what it should say is emergence of Confucian patrilineal society. Because it turns out Confucianism had been in Korea for 1,000 years, literally 1,000 years before this radical reformation. And the thing that I was looking at is how this Confucian order changed society. And the way it changed it was no longer is inheritance passed around equally. It used to be daughters and sons had equal inheritance, but now it's going to go to the eldest son. And it used to be that men and women would get married wherever they chose. The man's house is better, go to the man's house. The woman's house and village is better, settle at the women's village. And there are a lot of famous people who were born in the woman's village in the old days. For example, my favorite guy is Yul Gok. He's the guy on the 5001 note. Who's his mother?
Oh dear. I don't remember her name, but she's on the 50,000.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Shin Saimdang is her name.
Okay.
But you got the important
Yes.
part, that she's honored by being on the money.
Yeah.
So the four most important cultural items, cultural heroes in Korean are on the money, and two of them are mother and son. People don't realize, they know that he was born at a place called Ochukon. They know that was her home. Every Korean's been there to Ochukon. A lot of foreigners have been there.
Yeah. I think I've been there before.
You've been there?
Yeah.
And it's a nice place, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's actually really beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's not grandiose. It's
No,
simple, but it's beautiful
yeah.
and it's nice. Well, all Koreans know, and you and
Yeah.
every Korean on the planet has been to Ochukon.
Mm-hmm.
And they know the Shin Saimdang's house, but they don't realize that her mother had that house before her. And they don't realize her mother had the house before her.
Wow.
Mrs. Shin got the house from Mrs. E, Yongin Ishi, and she got that house from Mrs. Che, her mother, who was a Kangdong Cheshi. And so this line was passed down through the matrilineal line. Now, I ask Korean audiences sometimes, before there was patrilineality, before Puge Sahoe, what was there before? And the automatic response is Moge. Before patrilineality, there's matrilineality. Not so. Before patrilineality, it was balanced, it was equal. And ceremonies were done on an equal basis, taking turns, son, daughter, son, daughter. So another thing that changed a lot was the genealogy, because early on, the Korean genealogies were based like our family tree, with father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, great-grandfather, great-grandmother. They called it the 8 great-great-grandfather chart. You know, why it changed was 3 things. One was copying China. And Korea was becoming more and more loyal to China at this point. They call it sadejui, which is a very bad thing. Kissing up to China is what sadejui means. Literally, it means serving the great. China is the great, and being like China, you see. And then population pressures were growing, so they had to do something different. And inheritance patterns change in other countries when population reaches a certain saturation point. And then the ideology. Korea had ignored the fact that the Confucian text always said son, 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 eldest son, eldest son. And the men do this. And Korea had ignored that. They said, no, we don't do that. We're equal. And so what I've been saying to the Confucian leadership is, go back to the days of equal. And in your chokpo, in your genealogy, go back to the days where you have both sides of the family. You know, Korean genealogies today only look at one side of the family.
Oh, really?
This is the Doksu-i family genealogy. And it's just beautiful, isn't it?
Those are beautiful.
It really is beautiful.
my
It's
goodness.
just beautiful. And this is handwritten.
Amazing.
It's just really pretty. And in the second volume, if I remember right, you've got Yul Gok himself.
Okay.
that-
Really?
Yeah, here he is, right here. This is Yulgok Sunsang.
Wow.
Here it says Yulgok Sunsang. His name was E. He was one of these people that only had one name.
Oh.
Most Koreans have two names, but he only had one. Well, if you look at this chart here, you see here's his name, here's his son's name, here's his grandson's name. You look anywhere, and it's just one name. It doesn't say E again, the family name. Or if it's a Kim, you don't repeat the name because they're all the same member of the same family. So you can see from looking at it, and then the where you have three names is where you have marriage. This the daughter married Kim so and so. This daughter married E so and so. And so the Chokbo is very much a male-oriented document. And so this was one thing I said to them too, is that they should change back to the old days of doing Chokbo on both sides of the family. And he sort of nodded like, well, that's an interesting idea. And then I suggested that in Korea, the eldest son of the eldest son of the eldest son is a big deal. It's called the Chongson.
Okay.
And the Chongson is obviously a male. I suggested they ought to start thinking about having the Chongson as a female.
That's a change.
That's a real change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they look at me and their eyes cross and they go,
What are you
"Whoa."
talking about?
No. But you know, in our society, we print genealogies. I've got these are my English genealogies here.
Right, yeah.
And who prints them? Who does the research? In Korea, it's a bunch of old men at the lineage office. In America, it's a bunch of old women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oftentimes it's the women.
Yeah, and it's equal. You know, men
Yeah,
get
they
into it
do
as
it,
well.
but-
But women are very active in genealogy. So when I said to them that they should have women Chongson, oh boy, the eyes cross and the eyes glaze over. You know, it can't be. But that's what it has to be.
So is it usually the eldest son
Of the eldest son,
Of
of
the
the
eldest
eldest son,
son.
of the eldest son.
Okay.
The line goes down.
goes down that way?
Yeah.
So how would they do it then? Would it just be the eldest, the
Child.
child
I think it needs to open up.
of the eldest child of the eldest child of the eldest child?
I don't know that they need to retain the idea of
eldest?
the one family.
Okay.
I think Korea needs to change to the idea of who are you? It used to be I'm a Doksu I, and that's the end of the story. Now I think Koreans need to do what we do is, well, my name is Peterson, but my mother was a Benson, and my mother's mother was a Smith, and so I see myself as part of the Smith, Benson,
Yeah.
Peterson. On my mother's side, on my father's side, Pearson. I see all of them as my DNA.
Yeah.
Really, you know, you get DNA from both sides of your family, and I see them as my DNA. And I think Koreans could say, well, I'm a Toksu I, but my mother was a Kim Hak Kim. But we have in our family tree Andong Kwon and Indong Chang and Suwon Pek. And in fact, my Suwon Pek great-great-grandfather was really an important person. See, that kind of thing. If I look at my ancestors, my Petersons are a bunch of farming people. And my father's mother's line were Pearsons, they were farmers. But my mother's father was really somebody. He was a great pioneer, settler of Parowan, Utah, and Snowflake, Arizona.
Oh
Wow.
He was a superstar. He was really something. And so I'm very proud of my Smith heritage. When I talked with him about these major patrilineal things needing to change to be open, he was very welcoming to the idea. So I said to them, don't throw out the Confucian baby with the patrilineal bathwater.
Yeah.
That's a great
Throw out patrilineality.
Yeah.
Go back to egalitarian or bilateral kinship. People get confused. They talk about matrilineal and patrilineal as if those were the only two things. But there is bilateral. And American society is bilateral, you know. Our names are patrilineal, but that's because everything else is matrilineal. Korea has been patrilineal, but in the old days they were bilateral as well. Equilateral, you know. So that's what I suggested to him. I said, go ahead and throw out patrilineality. Throw out all this kind of chokpo, the ceremonies in the hands of the sons, throw that out. Abolish the single surname lineage, the single surname village, that's gone anyway. So most of this patrilineality is gone anyway. Face it, throw the rest of it out and have an equilateral Confucianism because the doctrine is really wonderful.
Yeah.
The doctrine is Inui Eji. In is human-heartedness, benevolence,
Okay.
good-hearted. E is justice, fairness. Ye is politeness and etiquette.
Oh, okay.
And Koreans are big on ritual and etiquette. For example, when I leave my grandkids' house, I say, bye, kids. They say, bye. And that's the end of it. When I go to my Korean house where they call me grandpa and I start to leave, mom and dad pull the kids in and say, hey, grandpa's leaving, come say goodbye. And they have to come in and they bow.
Oh,
It's an unnecessary ritual, but it's really nice.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the idea of etiquette and being polite.
Like
is
respect to elders.
respect to elders is
Okay.
another big part of Confucianism. And then the last one is education.
Oh.
And Koreans are off the charts in education. They have the highest rate of high school graduation, the highest rate of college graduation in the world. And they do all these innovative things. What
Yeah.
kind of car do you drive?
A Sonata Toyota.
Do you?
Yes.
That's Korean.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Yes.
We have two cars, a Sonata Hybrid and a Kia van.
Yeah.
The Kia van is grandma's car.
Yeah.
She put all the grandkids in the back.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those innovative, creative things that Korea comes up with shows that they're very high on the education scale. They always have been. That was my message to the head of the Confucian organization. I was so humbled by it. I mean, when I was a student and visiting the Sungyunguan, I couldn't imagine being called upon to give my opinion of where they should go.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what they asked me to do. Where should we go? What should we do?
Yeah.
And I gave him some ideas, and he agreed with me. He said, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens with it. But anyway, that's our story. That was my visit to the Sungyunguan.
Yeah.
And thanks to Rebecca and Alicia for coming in to share these ideas with me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you. Yeah.
See ya. Bye.